Apparently it's also called inside when your windows are single glazed and your landlord literally doesn't care if you freeze to death. So, yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Mia and welcome back to Brimful of Books. So, as you can probably tell, today's video is all about books that will warm your cold, dead heart, even if you think you don't have one. These books will do it. Because not only is it actually like cold outside, I think we all need to be reminded that happiness still exists even in these unprecedented, nah, I can't say that. That word has been used too much. Wait. Sui generis?
Sui generis.
Times. Yeah, let's go with that. So I've tried to film this video twice already. Once the audio was just completely messed up, and then the second time I just lost the footage. So I feel like the universe doesn't want this information out there. It doesn't want you to be happy. And I'm here for you. I'm gonna make you happy again. So the books I'm gonna be talking about are not all necessarily happy books. They're kind of like a mixture of happy and sad. They kind of take you on a whole roller coaster of emotions, and I'm here for it. So let's get into it. First of all, we have The Deepest Breath by Meg Grahan. I've already mentioned this in my 2020 favourite videos. Some of these are my favourites, so I'm sorry for repeating books, but I just want to make sure that you read these because, oh, my heart. This just made me feel so warm and fuzzy inside, and it just makes me so happy that a book like this exists for young people nowadays. So this is a story about an 11-year-old girl called Stevie who loves reading and loves sea creatures, and she's just amazing. And she has a crush on a girl in her class, but she doesn't really understand what that means, and she doesn't really understand that girls can have crushes on girls too. And it's just overall adorable. The book is written in verse, which I felt fit really well to kind of the point of the story, and it made it more, I don't know, realistic in a way that it was told by an 11-year-old girl, if that makes sense. The book also deals with mental health issues in a really good way, because the main character Stevie actually has anxiety, and I feel like that's just such an important thing that you really need to portray in children's books, because yes, children can also have anxiety, children can have mental health disorders as well, and I think it's just so important to show that, along with obviously the LGBTQ plus representation, because my heart just couldn't take it. I love this character so much. She's the most amazing children's book character because she's smart and funny and curious and just overall adorable. She's just the purest little bean, and she will make your heart melt. Next up, we have YA books. So for this, I have, first of all, You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. And I listened to this on audiobook, so I don't have the physical version of it, but I really, really love the audiobook as well. So this book is about a black gay teenager called Liz, and she's a really, really good student, and she wants to study medicine at college, but then she doesn't get the scholarship she needed to pay for that. So then her and her friends kind of come up with this plan where she needs to become prom queen in order to win lots of money and then be able to pay the tuition fees for her college. Prom is like a super big deal in this like tiny little American village, and I find that so weird. Like, I'm so glad I didn't grow up there. I would have hated that. But anyways, so then she's just kind of doing all the things that she needs to do in order to be elected as prom queen. And then she meets another contestant for prom queen, and she likes her, and they like each other, and it's adorable. It's just so pure, and it made me feel so happy inside. This book also deals with a lot more serious issues, so there's also racism and homophobia in the story, but I feel like that just adds to it being so much more impactful overall. I just enjoyed it so much. So You Should See Me in a Crown was so good, it was so well written, I loved the narration of the audiobook, just overall the whole story was just really cute and fluffy and heartwarming, obviously. And it just made me really happy. I'm going to say that a lot about all of these books because they all make me happy, but then they're also really sad. So insert that Perks of Being the Wallflower quote that I used to have on my wall when I was younger. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next book. Or actually books, because now we have the Heartstopper series. So this is obviously a graphic novel series by Alice Oseman, and I love these books so much. They just, Alice Oseman is just a queen, and I love her writing, and I love these, and just I love her so much. If you've been on any sort of bookish social media, you probably have heard about this, but if somehow you still haven't read it, then this is your wake-up call, and please do read this because it will make you happy. So this series is about Nick and Charlie, and Nick is already out. Wait, no, it's Charlie that's already out, I think. I always get the names mixed up. It's honestly so bad. Right, so it's Charlie that's already out, and then Nick is just starting to realise that he might be bisexual, and they kind of start hanging out, and then, yeah, obviously they fall in love in the end, and it's just the most adorable thing in the world. I just love Charlie with all of my heart, even though apparently I don't even know his name, but yeah, you know, it's fine. But they are honestly the most adorable couple in the world, and the whole series is just so good. And then in later books you also meet a lot of their friends, and it's just brilliant. I love it. Again, this does also deal with kind of more serious topics, so there's homophobia in the book, and also kind of mention of mental health disorders, specifically eating disorders. So if that triggers you, then yeah, trigger warning for that. But it's not a very big part of the story. I think overall it's very, very optimistic and positive, which makes it really heartwarming to me. So yeah, can definitely recommend. Next up, we have another audiobook that I listened to, which was just amazing, especially as an audiobook as well. And that is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. And I just love this book so much. I only read it really recently, like last week. So this is about a trans boy from a very kind of traditional Latinx family, and he's basically trying to prove his gender to his family by summoning a spirit. So yeah, this is a fantasy book, in case you weren't aware. It's a YA fantasy, and it's just amazing. So Yadriel, the main character, I'm sorry if I say that completely wrong. It really confused me because listening to the audiobook and like double speed, the name was said so quickly that I was always like, what's this? I don't speak Spanish. So Yadriel's family can all do magic, and the magic basically works differently from men and women. So that's why in order to prove his gender, he has to kind of perform this certain piece of magic. And what he's trying to do is summon the spirit of his cousin who was recently murdered, because he's trying to help the spirit move on to the afterlife. But then he accidentally summons the wrong spirit, and it is actually a spirit of the bad boy from his high school. And then he doesn't want to leave because he has unfinished business and kind of things to wrap up, because he just recently died and he didn't even know that he was dead, basically. And he doesn't want to leave at first, and then Yadriel doesn't want him to leave. Yeah. It is adorable, and I loved it so much. It made me really happy. The audiobook was just absolutely amazing. I loved it so much. It was narrated by a non-binary Latinx person, and I feel like that's just so fitting for the story, because obviously the character is trans as well, and Latinx as well, and so is the author, obviously. So yeah, I just love this book with all my heart. It was really well written. It was kind of fast-paced, but really perfectly paced, if that makes sense. And just the whole story, the magic, the people, the relationships, it made me feel a lot of emotions, and I loved it. And now we're moving into the adult category, and we're starting with another book that made me feel all of the emotions, and that is A Man Called Over by Frederick Backman. I've talked about this before on my channel and also on my Bookstagram, but I love this book so much. It was just great. So this is about Orvar, as the title suggests, and Orvar is a very grumpy old man who recently lost his wife and also lost his job, and he's just at a point in his life where he doesn't want to keep living anymore. But then his first suicide attempt actually gets interrupted by a new family moving in next door, and that is an Iranian woman called Pavane and her husband and her children, and they kind of come into Orvar's life and just won't leave. So throughout the whole book, you kind of find out more and more about his backstory and kind of what led him to be the way he is, and it's just so impactful. I cried so much whenever his wife was mentioned. I think the red sticky tabs are every time something adorable happens with his wife, and it was too much for me. I cried every single time because I'm a big crybaby and I always cry at things like that, and it's just... So that's what I mean by roller coaster of emotions, because this book is definitely not happy all the way through. Obviously, it deals with suicide, it deals with really heavy topics and really horrible things, but then it's so light-hearted at the same time, and it's so humorous and just beautifully written. The author just does such a brilliant job kind of making you feel all of the emotions that Ove feels. He makes you feel his grief and his loss and his happiness and his sadness and just everything at once. And that is just so amazing. And his whole life and his backstory and his relationship with his wife is just the most beautiful thing. And yeah, it made me very happy, so please read this. I'm sorry that the light keeps changing. Despite me saying that it's cold, the sun is out today, which is a great day to film a video when the sun keeps going in and out of clouds, but anyway, we live, we move on. Next up in the very, very adult category, we have Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This book is basically about a witty, amazing, perfect, bisexual PhD student called Dani, who's also a witch. So if that's not enough to get you interested, then I don't know what is. But I just love Dani so much. She was really relatable and just amazing. I just loved her as a character. So this is obviously a romance book, but in the beginning of the novel, Dani really doesn't want a relationship. She doesn't want romance. She's just kind of looking for a casual hookup partner. But then she meets Zaf. What's his last name? Ansari. Ansari. I know words. So Zaf is the security guard in her building, and then they kind of have this fire alarm training, so it's like a fake fire alarm kind of thing. And she doesn't know that it's fake, and she's basically trapped in an elevator now, and he helps her get out and he carries her out in his arms, like on the cover. Then obviously everyone on campus films it and they become viral and they're kind of shipped online. And then because of that, Zaf's charity organisation actually gets a lot more... I almost hurt my plant, but it's fine, I didn't. His name is Angus and I love him. So anyway, Zaf's charity organisation gets a lot more attention because of the video. And then to keep that going, Zaf and Dani basically decide to start fake dating. And it's adorable. And then romance ensues. It's also very, very smutty, so definitely be aware of that going into it. There's a lot of sex in this. But it's really good. It was a very quick read for me and I just really enjoyed it so much. I really loved how the book dealt with mental health issues and kind of in general both of their baggage that they brought to the relationship was handled really well, and yeah, I just love that. I love both of the characters. Zaf is just a big old soft boy, but he looks really strong, which is obviously the ideal romantic partner. And then Dani is this really strong, amazing woman, and I just love them together. It's funny, it's sexy, it's overall just so heartwarming and amazing. Moving on, we have Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too, or Everyone's a Alien When You're a Alien Too. Definitely said that right. This is by Johnny Sun, and it's basically this graphic novel about this little alien that comes to Earth and just meets loads of animals, and it's just the most adorable thing in the world. So it is considered an adult graphic novel. That is not because it has any like smutty sex scenes in it or something, but it is very much about kind of adult fears in a way. There's a lot of kind of existential dread and not really knowing your place in the world. And there's an artist who doesn't really feel like his art is good enough. There's all sorts of reflections on humanity and humankind and emotions and the way we interact with each other and with the world, and it's just it made me so happy. This little alien is honestly the most adorable little thing in the world, and I just love it so much. And the book was so funny throughout as well, which I really didn't expect, because it's like one moment I'm just like dying because my heart is melting, and the next moment I'm laughing again, and then the next moment I'm sad again, and it's just it's too much. It was too much for my heart to handle, but it was very warm afterwards, so this is definitely very heartwarming and I just love it. So you should all read this. And lastly, we have a book that I've been gushing over for so long, a book that I've absolutely loved last year, and that is of course The House in the Zelion Sea by TJ Klune. This book, my heart, I can't handle it. This is just such an amazing book. It's so well written, it's so adorable and so heartwarming, and I'm just so in love with it. Recently I did a live stream with my friend Beth from Read by Beth, and she said that this is the kind of book that she associates with me because of my love for older men. Which, you know, is a very interesting way to put that, but yes, apparently I do love older men because I love both this one and A Man Called Ove, obviously. They're very similar in kind of the vibes of the old men, but yeah. I don't know why. I didn't know this was a thing. So this book is an adult fantasy book that kind of reads like a YA fantasy, but because the main character is kind of old, it's considered adult. So this book is about Linus Baker, who's in charge of looking after orphanages for magical children. And he gets tasked by extremely upper management to visit this one specific orphanage with the most dangerous magical children in the world. And he's kind of tasked with checking if everything's okay and if these children are gonna bring about the end of the world anytime soon. One of the children is the Antichrist, one of them is just a green blob, and it's just... it had me crying so much. Please read this book, it's so amazing. The main character is also gay and really lonely, and I fell in love with him so much. I really loved how this book kind of felt like a contemporary in a fantasy world in a way, but it also has these dystopian vibes in there because of the whole government thing, and it's very much a dystopian kind of world, and I found that so interesting, and it's just incredible. So this book has kind of been described as being really similar to The Umbrella Academy, which I haven't read or watched, so I am not sure. This is just incredibly sweet and heartwarming and funny and quirky and weird and magical and just all of the good things. I think this is the number one. If you're gonna pick up any books on this list, then make it this one, because this is the number one heartwarming book. So yeah, that was all of my favourite heartwarming books that I wanted to talk about today. And I really hope you can pick some of these up, and I really hope they make you happy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these, or if you have any other suggestions for heartwarming books that I should check out, and I will see you next time. Bye!